Hello and welcome to Inside Music, episode number 75. I'm your host, James Shotwell, and on this episode, I'm speaking with Devin Oliver, vocalist for I See Stars. Now, before we get to the conversation, I gotta do a little bit of housekeeping. First and foremost, a quick thank you to everyone who reached out to me following last week's episode. If you didn't listen, we interviewed Kyle Fassel of Real Friends. That's a great conversation, but before that, I shared a little bit of my own life struggles. My grandfather had just been sent to the hospital that same day, and I really wasn't feeling that into music. I'm happy to report that my grandfather is on his way to making a full recovery, and I really appreciated hearing from you. People that I've never talked to before in my life who apparently listen to the show on a regular basis reached out to make sure I was doing all right, and that meant the world to me. So thank you so much. It's really hard to know how much of yourself you should inject into a podcast like this, but the longer I'm in entertainment writing, I found that the best stuff comes from a personal place, and that extends to interviews. Anyone can ask a band, if they're excited for their new album or what kind of songs they're going to play on their upcoming tour. That's very basic interview 101 type stuff, and that's not what we do here at Inside Music. We try to go deeper, and by deeper I mean far more personal. I want to know what influenced the creation of the record. I want to know what the people in bands are going through in order to live their dreams, and I want to know everything in between. And in order to do that properly, I have to share a bit of myself as well. So if you skipped over that part last week because you thought it was a little annoying or didn't interest you, that's perfectly okay. But for those of you that listened and those of you who showed that you cared, thank you so much. Back to this week's show. Devin Oliver is somebody that I have been trying to have a real deep conversation with for a long time. I've been a fan of I See Stars since I was in college. The band is from Michigan. I'm from Michigan. Back when MySpace was still a thing, I remember following the band even before they joined Sumerian Records. Their new album, Treehouse, marks the band's 5th studio album, and it comes out June 17th, and I'm telling you right now, and I know we say this all the time, but it is the band's best release to date. I See Stars has gone on over a lot of transitions and evolutions over the years, and this latest record finds them returning to the 4-piece that they were when they first started, with all 4 original members. The record pushes the electronic hardcore music that the band has kind of made their signature sound over the last 2 to 3 albums, but also has elements of pop music and just a little bit of trap-influenced rap. Yes, there is rapping on this album, but there is no guest appearances. There are a few cool people behind the boards, though. Nick Scott, for starters, who's worked with bands like Amira and Attila, helped co-write about half the songs on the record, and there's a little bit of programming assistance from the one and only Cell Dweller. Devin and I talk about all of this, as well as the stories that go behind Treehouse. His life has been changing a lot since the band's last album, New Demons, arrived in 2013, and it's really apparent when you get into the lyrics of the new record that he's in a different place and he wants to share a different side of himself, and that's part of what makes Treehouse such a great listen. Devin and I go through some of the more peculiar songs of the album. We talk about the things that might catch fans off guard, and we talk about why they made it onto the album and how they came together in the first place. We also talk about the band's upcoming stint on Warped Tour, and really what it's like to be in a group that has for a long time been labeled as a band for teenagers, but the members are quickly approaching the age of 30, and they're starting to share this evolved older perspective on life, and it's really changing the way that their music sounds as a whole. It's a really great conversation, and I feel like I finally was able to get the interview that I've been trying to get for many years, and I'm happy that it's recorded and captured here for you to enjoy. Before we get there are a few quick things we need to go over. First and foremost, this episode of Inside Music is only made possible by Holix, the music industry's leading promotional distribution company. And what that means is that Holix works with record labels, publicists, managers, and independent artists all over the world to share new and unreleased music without fear of piracy. Should a leak occur, Holix has state-of-the-art technology that can not only stop the spread of files online, but also track down the people responsible. For a free 30-day trial, visit www.holix.com. That's HAULIX.com. I also want to encourage you to follow the podcast on Twitter. We just passed 250 followers, which I know is not a great amount of followers, but people seem to be engaged, and we're building a community. People are reaching out, they're sharing their thoughts on the episodes, they're asking for guests, and we receive everything. We reply when we're able, and we really try to get the people that you want on the show to appear and talk about their work. So please follow at Inside Music Pod. That's at Inside Music Pod. Third and finally, you really owe it to yourself to buy the new I See Stars album, Treehouse, which arrives in stores through Sumerian Records on June 17th. That's less than 2.5 weeks from the day that this episode drops, and it's probably going to make your entire summer. The band's about to be on Warped Tour. They're going to be breaking out a lot of these songs, and you want to be ready. So pick up Treehouse on June 17th. Now I'm going to play a little segment of my favorite song off the record, which Devin and I discussed in this interview. I'm not even sure that they released it as a single just yet, as a promotional single anyways. But we talk about it on the show, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to share a little piece of it with you. So I'm going to play a little bit of new music from Icy Stars, and then we're going to get to my conversation with Devin. Thank you so much for listening. Follow us on Twitter. Enjoy the show.
Under bridges, but you know the bridge is burning. The clock is ticking by the second. I know the time is turning. I see the people you fuck with, they holding a knife to your back. Hands in the air 'cause they all in. We take a risk, so we all
in. Not much, man. How are you today? Are you in Michigan?
I am, yeah. And it's beautiful, so I'm great today.
Nice. Yeah, I'm from the Grand Rapids side of Michigan, so I feel that's where my family still lives.
Oh, nice, yeah. Well, we had quite the scorching weekend, so it kind of mellowed out as like a nice 70-degree, like, you know, sunny blue skies as opposed to like 90 and just scorching, and you know you're gonna get your feet are just gonna fry if you walk outside. It's just brutal. It was brutal this weekend.
Typical Michigan summer.
Very typical.
How long are you guys home for? Do you guys have like a big summer tour?
Yeah, we're off on Warped Tour in 2 weeks.
All right, so just a little bit longer.
Yeah, just a little bit more time to get a lot of stuff done. So,
what's on your docket between now and then?
Oh man, where to begin? I mean, we own our own print shop, so we print our own merch. So we're really trying to tackle that right now. And then at the same time, we're just focused on the rollout of the album Treehouse. So it's just like between those two things, and we're also shooting a music video, and we're, you know, just I mean, all the little nitpicky stuff. Like we're getting a tent together for Warped Tour, getting up some of our gear is getting repaired. We're getting new gear sent to us. So it's just like, it's just typical 2 weeks before a tour bullshit, just so much stuff. And on top of like, you know, typical new album rollout bullshit. So it's just like when you combine those two things, you really don't find any downtime. You're always on the phone or, you know, doing something.
Well, I'm glad you could find some time to talk with me.
Oh man, my pleasure. I appreciate the interview.
No problem, dude. I like all of the albums in your catalog, but this is something else kind of entirely different. I mean, it's a clear progression, but it's definitely different than all the other albums.
Yeah, I would agree.
And I want to get there, but first, you mentioned Warped Tour. Do you have a regimen for preparing for Warped Tour? I did Warped for a summer, and I thought I was prepared, and then it was awful. I just was hot and sweaty,
yeah.
And it takes like a week to adjust.
Yeah, I do a lot of conditioning, man. Like I'm pretty much in the best shape of my life right now, just exercising, doing a lot of running, a lot of cardio, light lifting, and, you know, doing a lot of breathing exercises. And, you know, as a vocalist, I'm obviously always conditioning my voice before a tour. So I'm singing pretty much all day, every day, and warming up. And just, you know, now that I'm doing the unclean vocals, I'm also doing a few of my you know, techniques to warm up my unclean vocals and, you know, get them conditioned. So I don't run into any surprises on Warped Tour. You know, I don't want to lose my voice, and sometimes there's really no way to avoid that, but I definitely like to heighten my chances.
Fair enough. Isn't that phrase so weird, unclean vocals? Like it's been used since day one in this scene, but like every time I'm just like, I wish we would come up with a better word. Anything.
Yeah, I don't like to call them screams. I don't like to,
yeah,
you know, I just,
that doesn't work either.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's so weird, like, thinking about me as a screamer, you know. I mean, it's great because I've always done a little bit of unclean vocals live, even back when we had, you know, Zach doing them. But so I was familiar with the idea, but now that I'm fully taking on the job, it's been, you know, now that it's my job, I mean, I'm actually practicing, I'm conditioning for the you know, for the job. I'm trying to strategize and just, you know, prepare myself. But it's like learning a new language, man.
Yeah, I imagine that there's a lot of people that thought when Zach left that maybe the screams would kind of go away and you go just straight up singing, but that is not the case on this album whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we definitely we tried to, you know, we want to keep, man, we want to keep to our roots. You know what I mean? Like we're a darker band, you know, and we write about some pretty powerful stuff, and that's always been our goal. So on this record, especially with our newest single, Break, it's like you can tell that with a song like that, we're able to keep the aggression and keep the heavy elements, and, you know, something that you can really just like want to like kick the doors down to, but there's no unclean vocals on that song. You know what I mean? So if the screaming is absent, I promise you the intensity is still there. If the screaming is absent on a track, the intensity is still there is what I mean. But yeah, this record definitely still keeps to its roots. But I will say it's a different record. You know what I mean? It's a different time. It's a different, we're at a different moment in our lives. You know what I mean? Like we're not the kind of band that stands still. We're always trying to evolve, you know? And I don't like to use the word mature because I don't think that heavy music is necessarily immature. I just think that, like, you know, we're evolving, we're growing, and, you know, I'm inspired by all sorts of different music today. Definitely different music than I was last year, and way different than the music the year before that. You know what I mean? So it's just like, as a musician, I can't help but want to write what I love, you know, and the same goes with the rest of my guys. So, you know, if you're a fan out there and you listen to a band and you just, you know, you're not open to them growing as musicians, you know, like you're just not going to be happy in the music entertainment business in general, because every musician likes to grow. Every musician likes to try different things. And with this record, I think we did a really great job at sticking to what we're about, but also being able to kind of raise the ceiling a bit.
Speaking of Break, you guys partnered with Cell Dweller a bit on that. How did that come together?
I've been working with Cell Dweller for a long time. He's actually from Michigan.
Yeah.
We teamed up on Murderman.
Okay.
And that song was, you know, one of our biggest songs to date. So it's great because, I mean, my band, me and my brother Andrew and you know, Jeff and Brent, like, we're all producers. Like, we all write not just rock music, but also electronic music. Like, we're all very into that world. And so as producers, it's really awesome to be able to, like, start an idea, and even in some sense you feel like you finished it, but then you reach out to someone like Cell Dweller, you're like, hey, like, I want you to check this out and let me know if you have any ideas, you know? And, you know, sure enough, he's got like 1 million, and it's great because it's just like, I feel like music is so, you know, 4-dimensional, and it's just like, I see it from one side and he sees it from a completely other side, and it's kind of a beautiful thing, you know what I mean? Like there's no way I would have ever seen it from that perspective unless he brought it to light. You know, so I love collabing, man. I love involving other people, especially someone like Clayton, Cell Dweller, who's this totally different guy. I've never met anybody like him, but I love him to death. You know what I mean? He's a great guy, and he's a great musician, a great writer. And I think that we will never write the same song. He will always, if I ever send him something, he will have 1 million ideas because he's got different inspirations. He grew up in a different time. And, you know, he's doing different things. So it was great, man. It was a great experience. And we actually had Cell Dweller involved on Running with Scissors too, which was our single before Break.
Yeah, I noticed you guys have worked with him in the past, and you also brought Nick Scott back this time around. He has a co-writing credit on like half the songs.
Yeah, Nick Scott, I gotta hand a lot to that guy. He's been heavily involved with our music since New Demons. He was Joey Sturgis's engineer, so he engineered New Demons, and then we kind of became really close friends after that. He helped us write, record, and he produced and mixed and mastered our entire acoustic album. and he was just phenomenal. I mean, Nick Scott's a great guitar player, so watching him and my guitar player Brent write together is some serious magic, man. And I play guitar too, so me and Brent are usually writing together, but it's really cool for me just to be able to put the guitar down and let those two go at it. I think it's just so great. So we've been working with Nick for quite some time now, and on this record, it was no question that we wanted to involve him, and he was there from start to finish. I mean, he was there during pre-production, he was there during actually recording, and he was there during all of the all the fun stuff that happens afterwards. I mean, he was there every step of the way, and it's just great because my band, I mean, we pride ourselves in writing and producing our records. Like we don't go into a studio without a record written and expect the producer to do everything. Like we go in with our record ready to go, but it's really interesting to me when you go into the studio with a record that you think is finished and somebody can tell you why it's not, or not that it's not finished, or not that it wouldn't be great the way it is, but why it could be better, and how we can make it better. Right? And I think that a lot of bands are so prideful that they're not willing to open those doors in their life. They have their songs, they have their lyrics, they have their melodies, and that's it. They don't want anybody adding any paprika to their, to their mix. So it's just like, but for us, like we open our doors, like we're all about it, and I think that that's what makes our music so, turn out the way it does. And with this record, we were able to involve even, my little brother who is an aspiring producer himself, and my bass player's little brother as well. Like these are people that work within our studio, and it's really cool, man. Like, I mean, my band, us four, like we write all the tunes, but these guys, like they come in and they could add one thing. It can make such like the biggest difference. You know what I mean? Like just one thing, you just never know what it's going to be. And it's so it makes it fun,
Yeah, it's so cool that you guys have been able to bring in so much family, but on the other hand, this album actually feels like it addresses a lot of family stuff. I know I read a quote from you where you said that there's a lot of family issues kind of going on here. Did you kind of challenge yourself to get as personal as possible with this record?
Yeah, I mean, I love to talk about, I mean, this is just my way of, this is my way of dealing with life, you know what I mean? And I talk about everything from family issues to, to the world issues, and even relationship issues. I mean, I was in a 6-year relationship up until, 2 years ago, right about the time when we started writing this record. So, like there's a lot of heartbreak on this record, which I think is great. I never really write about that. I more so gravitate towards, family issues and more towards like, world issues and things that are happening in everyone's life, as a team. And it's just like, so for me to actually write about heartbreak is an interesting avenue for me. And it's kind of hard for me because I never the one that likes to talk about that kind of stuff, but it was a big part of my life and it happened. And I was, I had to express myself so I think that what's so great about this record is it has so many colors, and I think that there's moments on this record where it tugs at your heart and you can't help but feel it, and I'm really excited for our fans to experience that.
Well, you bring up a good point. Like, you haven't ever brought a lot of relationship in previously, but I think that kind of adds a nice element to it because you kind of started looking, your earlier material looks at the world as a whole, and over time you seem to have gotten more and more personal, and so it kind of adds a different perspective on like relationships and stuff because it's not, a lot of bands start with the guy-girl stuff and then we kind of build outwards. You kind of started outwards and built inwards, and it adds a nice different perspective on how that kind of stuff works and how you work it into your music that I really appreciate on this record.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, I never really had any relationship. I mean, the relationship I was in was great. You know what I mean? It was perfect. Yeah. I was in it for 6 years. $6 years. So ever since the band, got signed and put out our first record, this is what I was in. So it was like, I never really had to talk about any problems within my relationship. And like, when I got my heart broken, it's like, dude, it's just like, it was actually really kind of cool because, man, there was a million lyrics I was able to, to write down and fucking fall in love with during that period of my life. And it was like, God, I might be super heartbroken right now, but like it is bringing out some really creative stuff in me. And I think that is so bittersweet because I'm able to like find some sort of beauty in like the tragedy in the world. You know what I mean? And I don't know, man, like I think that is like, I don't think that there's that many people that can do that, you know? And for me, when something heartbreaking happens or, you know, tragedy strikes in my life, it's like automatically I think like this can be beautiful. I just got to make it that way. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. Well, let's talk about the album title and the artwork a bit because there's something the Treehouse title alone, but even the artwork itself, there's this organic feel to it that hasn't really been present in like the look of I See Stars in the past. So where does the title come from, and what was your idea with the cover art?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we opened up a studio a few years back, actually, a little bit before New Demons, and we had a lot of people coming in and out of it, but mainly the people that were going in and out of it was my band and my little brother and my my bass player's little brother, and we always called the studio the Treehouse. You know what I mean? And then when we bought a house together, everything just kind of got bigger. Everything got more serious, and you know. It was great. I mean, it felt like the Treehouse was alive, you know, and it was the wheels were turning and music was being made, and you know, so when we were thinking about the album title, like, you know, this was a very common expression, which was, you know, everyone's safe in the Treehouse, you know, because it's where everybody can go in and you know, write their feelings down or you know, put their feelings down in music form, you know, and it was just like, it felt so obvious, honestly. Like when we were naming the album, I was just like, dude, we should call this album Treehouse. I mean, we should invite the world into what we've been, you know, where we've been, you know, these last 2-3 years. You know, I mean, this is a special time in our careers, a special time in our lives. You know, we made changes. We've bold changes, hard changes, heartbreaking changes. You know what I mean? Like every name in the book, it's just like, you know, we're doing something different. We're doing something special. And most importantly, like this, we're doing something that we've never done before. And I think that this record, without a doubt, is my favorite record that we've ever written. So for me, it makes sense to call this album something that's really important to me, which is Treehouse, you know, and really important to everyone in this band. And it's been really great, man. I mean, people are perceiving the album title just the way that I did. I feel like our fans, you know, when I see people posting about it, you know, like I'm so excited for Treehouse, like, oh, everyone's safe in the Treehouse. Like everybody's just like posting about it, just like I always imagine them doing. And I feel like it's formed somewhat of a family, and it's been really cool, man.
So that's everyone's safe in the Treehouse is a reference to the same idea then.
Yeah, exactly. I would say that the track "Everyone's Safe in the Treehouse" is somewhat the title track of the record.
Yeah, no, I get that now. I want to ask you about the break video, but before I get there are two songs on the album that I keep coming back to that I don't think you've put them out yet, so it'll be a little surprise for people when we get there, but I wanted to talk about them because I love them. First one being "Walking on Gravestones." What's the story there? Because that track just rips.
Oh, thanks, man. It's actually, it's funny. That is the only song on the record that I started getting involved in. I was trying to start somewhat of a solo project, and when I was in the studio, and that was the first song I wrote, and my guys all came in and I showed them, and they were just like, "This song's amazing! Like, this has to be on the I See Stars record." And for me, it was flattering because everything I write, I See Stars gets first dibs. I mean, like, that's just how I roll. Like, I've never been I never gravitated towards a solo project. I mean, I always loved being exclusively I See Stars. I never, you know, started a project with Devin Oliver or anything of the sort, you know, and a lot of vocalists tend to do that. And I love that. I mean, you got to be able to exercise all your creativity, not just in this world, but in any world. And that's kind of where this Walking on Gravestones song stemmed out. You know, it was supposed to be different enough from I See Stars to where they wouldn't necessarily be interested in using it, but they loved it, and I love it. And, you know, it was one of the first songs I wrote for this that made it on this album, and I wrote it to exercise some of the feelings I was feeling when I was getting out of that 6-year relationship and just kind of feeling alone. And so when I listen to that song, I get super emotional, but I love it. Like, that's how it should be.
Exactly. For a second there, I thought you were going to say it helped you exorcise some demons, and I was like, is this a new Demons reference you're about to throw at me? The other one, this is the one I think people are going to be talking about on like release day, and that's All In, because I even tweeted at you guys that I thought there was a guest vocalist because it's so different that I was like, I emailed your publicist and I was like, can I get the album credits? Because like, what is happening here?
That's awesome.
So yeah, where's that come from? Because that's like the party song of the record almost.
Yeah, I mean, me and my brother Andrew, I mean, we tackle the lyrics together, we tackle the melodies together, and that's how the dynamic always has been. So for this song, this was actually, it's funny, we finished the record, and we went on tour, and we have this song musically that we've been working on for a while, but we didn't actually record it with Eric Ron. We recorded it in our own studio. And it was turning out to be exactly what this album was missing. And so we finished the music on tour, and I remember I reached out to my manager, Jack. I was like, listen, like, we got this song that we're finishing up right now. I think it would be perfect for the record. If I can finish it by the deadline, can it be on the record? And she was like, I mean, I'm not going to think about that because we had a million things on our plate at the moment. So my manager was already super overwhelmed. She's like, listen, if you want to finish the song by the deadline, go for it, but I can't even think about that happening right now. It was so funny, but I was like, okay, so that's what we're going to do. So me and Nick Scott spoke, and so it worked out to where we were sending our music to Nick. Nick was re-recording it in his studio, what we had written, and helping us finish this song. And so by the time I got home, the music was completely finished, and it sounded so fucking sick. And me and Andrew sat down, we were writing lyrics, and we were writing unclean vocals for this beginning breakdown. And me and Andrew are huge into hip hop. We love hip hop. I mean, we love everything. Like, I love electronic music. I love hip hop. I love rock music. Like, I do not close my doors, man. I love country music, like, whatever. Like, I like everything. But I'm a huge fan of hip hop. So, we were sitting there, and we were just going through some like hip hop melodies, trying to maybe find like an approach that our world doesn't fuck with that much, and eventually we just had this like super Young Thug, like Future vibe that we were just like, dude, we gotta try this. Like, I might sound stupid, but we gotta try it. So I was sitting in front of the mic, like trying a few ways of how to deliver these lyrics, and eventually we just struck a chord, and we're like, dude, that sounds awesome. So we just went for it, and there you go. Like, you have it all in. And I think that it's great because what we're talking about in that song is how my band has always gone all in. Like, we never hold back creatively or on our live show, we always go all in with everything we do. Like, we don't half-ass it. Like, no matter what, if we got to spend money, if we got to take a personal paycheck cut, like, to make something extraordinary happen, we do. And with this song, it was like perfect because it's just like, dude, like, I'm rapping on this song. Like, we are definitely in some ways going all out on this song, and it turned out to be a lot of people that I've showed this record to. That song turned out to be their favorite song, which is just great because it almost didn't make the record. So
it's crazy because you get to that point in the record and it's a great record, but then you get to that song and you kind of have to do a double take because you're like, am I still listening to the same album? It fits. It's just so different for you guys. Do you think you could have written this? Do you think you could have written it earlier in your career, or is this something that you can only get to at this point?
Well, I mean, I have to remind IC Stars fans that I had Busy Bone on my first record ever from Bone Thugs.
True.
You know what I mean? So from the very beginning, I was doing this kind of shit. And, I did a feature on Busy Bone's record. I mean, like, dude, like hip hop and rap in general has always been, has been since the beginning. You know what I mean? So it's just like, I've never personally rapped on our records, but, it's just like, we've always had a flow. Like, we've always had some sort of like, I've had moments where I flow in our songs, and it may be more like me singing as opposed to like, like yelling or rapping, you know what I mean? But it's just like, you know, I don't think that our fans could be they can't be like too caught off guard, because it's just like, my band doesn't have a ceiling. Like we do what feels right, you know, for each song. And with this particular song, hip hop felt right. You know, it felt like a different approach to an aggressive, you know, rock song, you know, and to be honest, I would be curious to see how often we decide to take this approach in the future, because of how great it turned out, I think.
You think maybe we'll see it as a single down the line?
We were talking, I mean, because, you know, we had Running with Scissors, which was more of like a lighter aggressive song, and then you have Break, which is more of like an epic aggressive song. But I mean, All In, it's funny, the owner of my label called me up, Ash Appleton. He called me up and he's just like, hey, this All In song, I love it. He's like, I'm in love with this song. He was like, but I'm going to tell you right now, people, this is either going to be your biggest song or it's going to be your most hated song. And I thought that was really interesting, because, you know, it's just like, it's very true. I mean, it's either going to be one of our biggest songs on the album, or it's going to be our most underrated song in the album, or a hated song on the record. So I think the best solution would probably be not to release it as the next single, but at the same time, like, what kind of person would I be talking about going all in and not releasing it as the next single, you know? So you never know, man. Right now we're working on a music video for Everyone's Safe in the Treehouse. So, you know, it's just one of those things where we're focused on that, but we're also, I mean, as you can tell with most of our recent releases, we're really heavy into visual videos right now. I mean, I think that there's something really cool about having our music play, but not actually seeing us. You know what I mean? I think it's less flaunting and less like braggy. You know what I mean? It's more so reminding people that, hey, my band is not like it's not like some sort of like fashion show. Like, we're telling a story with our music. So forget about who we are, forget about what we look like, focus on the music, focus on the lyrics, focus on the story, you know?
With that in mind, let's talk about the Break video. Just came out this week. People are going crazy for it. Brandon Balmer involved. So let's start there. Where did Brandon come into the story?
Well, we did one of Chiotos's only tours with Brandon. I think he may have done maybe 2-3 tours with Chiotos. So he was very briefly in the band. I mean, he did a record with them, but, you know, he didn't do that many touring. So we toured with them, and that was just kind of the start. I mean, we didn't become necessarily best friends with Brandon on the tour. It was more so, I mean, my band was kind of nervous because we loved Chiotos. I mean, we're both from Michigan, and we've always been huge fans of those guys. So this was an interesting opportunity for us. So we were kind of, you know, a little, I guess, more on the shy side on that tour. But he actually started a project called Masquerade, and it's more of like an electronic side project. And we discussed with him to do a 10,000 Feet remix on our last remix album, which he killed it on. Sounds great. And that kind of sprouted a relationship. I mean, he's done a little bit of designing for us over the last year or so, but we never really put all our chips in on him with a visual video, but he was super confident. And, you know, there's a Fractal Fantasy video, but, you know, we were kind of capitalizing on a Fractal Fantasy like video. And he kind of knew exactly what we were talking about. And it was really interesting because we were writing this script for a music video, and I had said nothing to him about this script. But oddly enough, he kind of did my script unintentionally in this visual video. You know, there's that forest vibe. It's a dream, like kind of in and out of a dream, you know, visual video. So that was interesting. But, yeah, I mean, you know, we just have known each other for a long time, and not necessarily on a personal level, but on a business level. And he's an extremely talented dude. I mean, this video he sent us, I mean, it was the first time in this entire rollout where someone sent me content and I didn't have one note. It was like, yes, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. And I think that there's something to be said with that.
Are you going to do a similar concept with Everybody's Safe in the Treehouse, or have you not really got that far into it yet?
No, we're going to do an actual music video for that. Yeah, we're going to actually be in that one. We're trying to really approach this rollout with giving every song its moment, you know? I mean, it's really difficult writing an entire 12 songs full length, you know, and then and having any song go overlooked. So we're just making sure that some of our most favorite songs on the record are getting its moment in time, you know, because I just feel like, you know, our demographic these days have such a, I don't want to say, you know, small attention spans, or short attention span, but yeah, I guess that would be it. I mean, you know, they'll list, most people don't buy records anymore. Most people are streaming them. So, you know, they're not even really listening to the whole record most of the time. So I really wanted to make sure that we were all very consciously aware of giving every song, or at least most of the songs in such a short period of time, its moment in our fans' lives.
Now, looking ahead to Warped Tour, so I'm guessing you're going to do Break and Running with Scissors. Are those the two new songs you're going to bring out? You're going to try to mix in a lot of the new album?
Well, it's always hard because Warped Tour, you gotta showcase who you are, who you were, and who you were and who you are now. You know what I mean? So It's really hard to put together put together the perfect set when you're a band that has 5 records and you're releasing a new record, you know, and you have to play your hits, you got to play, but you also want to play new stuff. So for us, we're going to learn a lot of new songs, and we're just going to kind of filter them in and out for the first couple of days and see which one goes best live, you know? So we're going to experiment a little bit on this tour. We're going to try different things out. We're going to have somewhat of a concrete set, but there's going to be probably one slot that we're rotating songs each day to see which song, you know, goes over the best.
I can't.
But yeah, it'll be.
Go ahead.
It'll be Running with Scissors, Break, Everyone's Safe in the Treehouse, and Mobbing Out, that we'll be rotating those songs and seeing which ones people are grabbing a hold of.
Now, you mentioned that you guys have your studio and you're doing your own printing. At this point, outside of Sumerian, everything else is pretty much in-house for you at this point, isn't it?
Yeah. The printing, you know, our print shop has been around for a few years now, and I mean, that goes without being said. I mean, there's so many. I remember one of the first tours we were doing, we just looked back at our spreadsheet after a tour, and we realized that our biggest bill at the end of the tour was our merch bill. I mean, I'm talking tens of thousands of dollars. You know what I mean? It's just like, this is not only in some cases your biggest income, but also your biggest expense. So we had a few buddies here in Michigan that were very familiar with printing. They worked in a print shop, and, you know, we saved up some money over a few months and bought a couple presses, and, you know, just been learning how to do it over the last 2 years, and, you know, trial and error, and, you know, a lot of research and we know a lot of people that print merch over in LA. So just, you know, picking a lot of people's brains and trying to figure out a way to perfect it, and, you know, here we are, and it's been going over great now. I mean, our prints look, you know, super flush. You know what I mean? Nothing, you wouldn't look at our shirt and another company's shirt and see the difference. I mean, the designs are great, the prints are great, and we're saving so much money. So it was just a huge come up, and for us, that allowed us to really do cooler things. Like, we also buy all of our production. So we're not renting production like almost every band does. We actually own all of our production. So we're constantly building, and it's constantly getting bigger. So when fans come out to our shows, they're always seeing a bigger and better show each time. They're never seeing the same show. They're never seeing a show that's not as cool. You know, so it's just one of those things where we never really have to bite the bullet with production. And I think that's huge. I mean, you got these fans that come out to your shows, and they pay, in some cases, you know, the little money they have to come see you. You want to give them an experience, and that's always been a big priority for us. So it's been being able to print our own merch has also led to us being able to do a lot of other bigger things.
Definitely. Now, you guys, this is going to be album number 5 for you if we don't count Phases in there. Is there anything that you hope to get out of this record that maybe you haven't gotten out of the last 4 albums?
Yeah, I mean, I always like to see our band on a steady incline. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I would like to see, I think that this album has the potential to make a bigger jump in most of our records and help take us to another level. But I think that every band kind of hopes that when they're coming out with a new record. But I really strongly believe that I have a good connection with what my fans want from our band. And given the recent changes, I think that it was a challenge to have to accomplish those things. But I think we did a great job. And not only did we do a great job, but I think we did our best job. And that's exciting for us. You know, I've always been able to be very honest with myself about our records and with my expectations and managing them. So I think that for me to be able to set high ones for this record, I think it's saying a lot. I think this record will do a lot of big things for us. I think we might get a lot of radio play on this record. I think we might see our numbers jump a lot as far as record sales, which would be a huge accomplishment, seeing as over the last 2 years alone, there's been a huge dip in record sales in general. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time for us. And I'm super confident. And usually when I'm confident, it's a good sign. I've had records in the past where I wasn't as confident. I was pretty damn scared. So I'm excited.
I'm excited for you, man. I appreciate you taking the time to talk, because I know we're what are we? We're like 15 days away at this point, like 2 weeks, 2 weeks in a day.
Yep, 2 weeks in a day.
And you don't seem that nervous. You seem very confident. I think that's a good sign of faith.
Yeah, if anything, I'm anxious. I'm excited for people to hear these songs. Every time we release a new song, I get really excited, and I'm super just overwhelmed with joy that our break song is over 100K in one day. I mean, that is just like, that blows my mind. So, I mean, it's the biggest release we had on this record so far. So it's exciting, man. I mean, it's getting, every song we release, there's been a lot of positivity and not a lot of negativity, which is saying a lot, seeing as all of our videos and all of our music gets released on Sumerian, which is more of a predominantly, metalcore label. So there's a lot of people on that label that don't necessarily take a liking to IC Stars. So if you're going on the comment section, you're seeing a lot of positivity, you're doing something right,
Exactly, man. Well, I wish you the best with it. I love the record. I think it's definitely your best yet. And I mean, you've been getting progressively better, but I mean, I love 3D, so we're good. Like this,
thanks,
as
man.
A long-time listener, I'm from Michigan as well, so obviously I remember the unsigned MySpace days. So it's good to see us here.
The glory days.
That would be like almost a decade ago at this point. We're both getting old.
I know. I feel so old, man.
But that's good. I mean, that's good. It's fine. It's okay to get old, because you guys are still being inventive. You aren't like, we're getting ready for the 10-year tour of our first album. You guys are still pushing the envelope.
Yep. And
hopefully,
getting old is a privilege, man. I'm embracing my seniority, and I'm embracing, I think that getting older is getting wiser, and I think that as I get more wise, I think I write lyrics that are a little bit more something that can live on through time. You know what I mean? Not just go under. Like I feel like a lot of the lyrics I wrote when I was 15, they're for 15-year-olds. But lyrics that right now, they can be for 15-year-olds, but they can also be for 30-year-olds. I mean, like they're so relatable and they're so powerful. And so as somebody who's getting older, I feel very, very I don't know. I just feel very blessed with how much more, how not just me, but my band, and how much of growing we have been able to do over the last few years as musicians.
Perspective is a crazy thing like that.
Yeah. At least I don't have any gray hair yet. When I have gray hair, I'll be really scared. Yeah, I have blonde hair now, so.
Well, okay, that's kind of cheating, right? Though.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 28. I noticed my first gray hair like a couple months ago, and my fiance pointed it out to me, and I was like, "Don't tell me that. Like, let's just not pretend. I'm not ready yet."
I do not want to see that. Just shave it off.
Just
man.
shave it. Just shave it. All right, man. Well, I'll let you get back to your day, but thank you so much for talking to me. You guys, so the album's out June 17th, and Warped Tour starts about that time, right?
Totally.
Yeah, so then everyone can see you on Warped Tour all summer. I'm sure you'll be on the road probably till the end of the year and into the next year, so we'll see you out there.
Busy year. Yep.
All right, man. Best of luck on everything. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, man.
All right,
bye.
I don't want people at home.